I want to talk about McDonald's now because I was in. Sorry, how are we doing for time?
No, I was looking at the picture.
I was. Is it okay? Is it It's kind of we've kind of lost our positions. We need to work on centralising.
We do.
The table, but we can see your book, Nick, which I forgot to point out earlier. Sorry.
It's fastest selling book so far for me.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's sold less than a fortnight, and it's sold already more than all other books.
Fantastic. Well done.
So it's selling really well. England, My England, available on Amazon.
James, that friend of mine bought one. I'm waiting for his review, basically. But he sent me a picture, which I sent on to you of it.
All right.
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to cover McDonald's, which I think is quite interesting for a number of reasons. So we're talking about our politicians having an experience of real life, which I think, you and I have talked about the fact that we're both from working class backgrounds. I grew up in a very Hare Hills, as you know, which is kind of maybe rougher than where you grew up. But I have lived in those environments for a long time. Until I was about 18, I lived in I was living not in a council house, but on a council estate up till I was 18. And the other day I was again, I was with my wife, and I took her to a place, and I didn't want to sit there, so I went and got a coffee at McDonald's. And I go to McDonald's quite a lot. I get coffee there all the time or whatever. Tend to do it on the motorway when I'm driving down somewhere or whatever. I refuse to go in Starbucks. Have I told you this before?
No.
Yeah, so I refuse to go in Starbucks. I used to get my coffee from Starbucks, but then when it went up to £4 a cup, I was like, I'm not paying. I don't care how much money I've got, I'm not paying £4 for a cup of coffee. So I buy my coffee. So I won't go through on the motorway. I won't go on through a Starbucks drive-through. I will park up, get out the car, go into and go to a McDonald's, get a coffee for $1.39, get out and go back in my car or whatever. I refuse to pay £4. I just, and it's not like good Starbucks coffee. McDonald's coffee is far better. So
many people say they like McDonald's coffees. I don't drink coffee, but many people say they like it. Yeah.
I did meet a guy once who said he didn't like McDonald's coffee, and I said, "Why don't you like McDonald's coffee?" And he said, "Well, 2 reasons." And he said, "The first reason is it's often too hot. You get it, it's too hot, and I find it quite." I said, "No, that's an interesting reason." I said, "What's the second reason?" He said, "I don't like the taste." I said, "You don't need the first reason if you've got a second reason, do you?" The first reason would have been fine. One reason.
Maybe Maybe he doesn't like the taste of Starbucks, but they just serve it cooler.
Yes. Don't like this. I said the first reason's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm just trying to move the chair so I don't destroy your wall. We need to think about the logistics here.
We do.
So I don't buy my coffee at McDonald's. I don't buy my coffee at Starbucks for that reason. Basically, it's a rip-off. But anyway, McDonald's. So my wife went to the shop. So I was it was in Oldham. So I went into the local McDonald's in Oldham, and I sat there and I was drinking my coffee. I was looking at my phone at first, but then I started looking at the people coming in, and there were families, kids or whatever, and I looked at them and I thought, this is a reality of what life is like, and I wonder how many Labour MPs or Labour cabinet members come and sit in a McDonald's for an hour and see what life is like for people. How life is tough, life is hard. You're dealing with your kids. You're going to McDonald's because it's relatively cheap to take the kids through a day out. Divorced fathers sitting there or whatever. You see the spectrum of life. These people aren't worried about stuff like nut zero. Or transgender pronouns and none of that crap. They're too busy getting on with their life and trying to live their lives, aren't they? And I was thinking, what they should do again is get MPs to spend a day in McDonald's working behind the counter or whatever. And then, interestingly enough, at the same time, this is when Trump was doing this in America. And I thought, tactically, it was very interesting for all sorts of reasons. One is the fact McDonald's let them do it. Let him do it, which means they must be supporting him in some way.
Well, the franchises.
Franchise, yeah.
So the person who owns the franchise of that McDonald's
is a supporter of that. So that was like to happen. But then also I thought, you know, and apparently 1 in 8 people in America has worked in a McDonald's at some point,
Right.
except for Kamala Harris, we found out. But I thought, you know, what a fantastic understanding this guy has. Even though he's a billionaire, he's never been poor or whatever, he has a far greater understanding of the way people think and what matters to people than all these MPs we have in this country and all the senators and governors they have in America as well. He gets it, doesn't he? For some reason, he understands.
We don't know if he gets it. He's just a much better showman.
Yeah. Well, no, he must get it because he's gone to McDonald's, hasn't he? And he eats McDonald's apparently. He eats McDonald's all the time.
Yes, he does. He gets them ordered. And,
He gets them ordered and brought to Trump Tower, which is fantastic. And quite a few politicians have done this over the years. So apparently Rishi Sunak tried to do it a couple of years ago, went to McDonald's. And they said, what's your favourite McDonald's? He said, breakfast wrap. Apparently they hadn't made them for 2 years. so he hadn't had any idea. Anyway, going back to Labour. So there was a thing that said my first steps, and it's a joke thing which I'm going to read out now. But I was actually reflecting on Keir Starmer, and you and I have talked about sixth form politics and the way they almost seem to be doing sixth form politics. Do you remember a character called Adrian Mould?
Yeah, Diary 13 and a half.
Diary of 13 and a half, and it was by Sue Townsend, and he went over, and it was this kind of very pretentious young kid, and his diary, it was very hilarious because he was very pompous, and But I thought Keir Starmer's a bit like that, and I thought, you know, some of his first steps are kind of Keir Starmer, age 16 and a half. If you can imagine him being nearly 16 and a half year old. So my first steps: 1, get Lord Ali to buy me some suits. 2, call half the electorate racist. 3, get Lord Ali to buy the missus some new frocks. 4, get even more suits from Lord Ali. 5, move into Lord Ali's flat and pretend it's mine. And 6, lock up anyone who calls me out. I think it's true, isn't it? We've just hit his first 100 days, and I think there's a bunch of areas where, you know, he's just done dreadfully, really. I just thought it'd be interesting to maybe run through them. The first one is freebies. So, do you want to tell us what you remember he's had in terms of freebies?
Free suits, free glasses. I don't know where that came from, but free glasses for thousands of pounds, free accommodation, free tickets to Taylor Swift, free Arsenal tickets.
Yes.
That's all I can remember at the moment.
And also prompted one of his MPs, Rosie Duffield, to quit the party. Talking about sleaze, nepotism.
Yeah. One of his ministers resigned yesterday.
Oh really? Which one?
Yeah, Minister for Grenfell.
Oh really?
And it turns out she's been wined and dined 14 times by people who make cladding.
Is that after they found out she's the minister for Grenfell?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So they've kicked off and she's had to resign.
Professor Sir John Curtis is a poster guy.
Yeah, he's good.
He said that, you know, Starmer just isn't like, basically. He's just not a very popular person.
He hasn't got any... I mean, I don't think he's ever been liked to a certain extent, no matter all his life, because he's not a dislikable person. He's just not a likable person. He hasn't got the charisma, the personality. But add that with what he's done, I mean, he's despised.
And he said what Starmer hasn't spotted is Shaw. Is that Shaw, there's nothing illegal about persuading someone with a lot of money to buy you some clothes, but it's how he looks. He hasn't realised that. Well, he has now, as people pointed out to him, but he just didn't realise that, did he?
And I think he didn't realise it because it's always been like this. So he's been in politics 15, 20 years. People have been spending money on him since day one. Because like I said, he was picked to be a potential MP, and they've been spending money on him ever since. And every politician he knows does the same, and all the Tories did the same, and Labour governments in the past have done the same. What's come back to bite him was him for years going, we're better than everybody else. We're whiter than white. Look how bad the Tories are. We're not like that. it's his hypocrisy that's come back to bite him, not the fact he's been like everybody else.
The second thing in his 100 days, and again, I don't know if you remember everything that happened, but the number 10 turf war, basically. What's happened inside number 10 in these 100 days.
Well, he's number one now, Sue Gray. She's been kicked out.
Yeah.
She's got a non-job now, so there's rumours that she's going to be made a lord and kicked upstairs. Everybody's manoeuvring, looking to get his job. Everybody is. There's a reshuffle coming any day now.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Has he said that?
I think so, yeah. But everyone's talking about it. It's going to be a reshuffle because the woman who ruined the P&O investment, the trade minister.
Oh yes.
Louise something.
I can't remember. I know who you mean. Yeah.
She's being fired or has been fired, so they're having to do a reshuffle to fill her post and stuff like that. So we will see. They've just put Angela Rayner on the UK Defence Committee.
Louise Haig it was.
Louise Haig.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just lots of shenanigans going on.
Apparently, this turf war it was between Sue Gray and Morgan McSweeney.
Yes.
Which apparently she twice ordered that his desk be moved further away from the...
Well, that sounds like yes, Prime Minister.
I know, but if you think about this stuff happening, I mean, you've got these people are running our country, and one of them is so in such a little crappy political war with them, that she's ordering people to move his desk slightly further away from Keir Starmer's office.
It makes sense if you want to control the Prime Minister and the information he gets. The more people he speaks to, the more information he gets, the less valuable you are.
Yes.
If you want to be valuable, you've got to be the holder of all the information. You don't want people given information you don't know and is not approved of. So this is all about power. And she lost the fight.
Yeah, this woman Sue Gray, she's a civil servant, isn't she? Is that right? Or
she was a civil servant. She's the one who looked into Cake Gate with Boris Johnson, found him guilty.
Yes, that's right.
Then she left the civil service,
Yeah.
got the top job with Keir Starmer. Her son then got parachuted into a safe seat. He's now a Labour MP at the general election a couple of months ago. Yeah.
They're just grubby, aren't they?
Yeah.
She went and ran a pub for a while apparently, and then came back into. I heard that recently.
That was decades ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was accused of being a control freak, with one source saying she had to sign off on virtually all decisions number 10 was making.
Right.
And then when her salary was leaked, it revealed she was being paid more than the Prime Minister, which is one of the things. So he removed her after just 93 days in the job, just before his 100 days were up. Replaced her with Sweeney. She's the second shortest serving permanent chief of staff since the role was created. The only other one was the one guy who worked for Liz Truss.
And he only got sacked because she got sacked.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It wasn't even his fault.
Yeah.
Plummeting popularity. What can you tell me about that in the 100 days? What's happened to Keir's popularity since he
It's gone through the floor, hasn't it?
Yes.
There's a statement today from number 10 that he finds it very offensive that the criminals he let out early are all celebrating and thanking him, and he doesn't find that funny and
Hey.
Yeah,
Why is he saying that now?
because he's seen all the video clips and he's seen how it's affecting his polling, so he's come out now to say he doesn't agree with them thanking him and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he's about 2 months too late, isn't he?
Well, that's him. He's looking at his polls going, God, I need to do something. Let me apologise for letting No, I won't apologise for letting criminals out. I'll apologise for criminals thanking me that I let them out.
So guess where his popularity is now. So just to give you a clue, he was at plus 4% when he strolled into number 10.
Minus 50. It's collapsed.
He's minus 36 now. He's gone down 40 points. He now places lower in popularity than guess who?
Than anybody we've heard of.
Nigel Farage. So Nigel Farage is now more popular in the British public than Keir Starmer,
Right.
which is unbelievable, really.
Well, Farage is like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. there'll be no one loving Starmer. It'll either be indifferent or hate him.
Mm. And again, John Curtis said it's long been obvious Keir Starmer is personally not particularly popular. He lacks a very clear political antenna. It's just that his numbers are now even worse than they were before the election. No previous government has been elected with so low a share of the vote.
Right.
Basically. So, yeah, so it's saying here that in spite of his woes, he still has significant political capital left just because of the collapse of the Tories. The economy. So what's he done to the economy in the last 100 days?
I think he's spooked the economy. I don't think he's actually done anything, but he's spooked it.
No, I think that's right, yeah.
Investment, I believe, is reducing. We've got millionaires leaving. We've got non-doms leaving and taking their money away. We've got people not investing in businesses because they've got no idea a tax is going to go up. We've got businesses now are looking, can we afford to employ any other people, because these new laws are coming in to give people more rights at work. That's going to cost me.
Yeah.
I'm also going to have to start paying for HR advice and new systems because of all these new legislations, and so I would imagine investment's dried up. Everyone's waiting for this budget. This budget is either going to be more of the same, or it's going to be, God, that was bad. I'm not sure which way it's going to go.
It's right. What you're saying is that what's happened is economic confidence has dropped, basically. It's been the biggest drop in confidence since Cameron embarked on his austerity drive, which you remember. Much of the negativity relates to this £22 billion black hole that he's claiming has been left by the Tories. But since taking power, he's signed off on £10 billion worth of above inflation pay rises for public sector workers, basically. And
11 billion to Africa to fight climate change, a couple of billion to Ukraine, hundreds of millions on this, hundreds of millions. We're not short of money in this country.
No, he's going and the old favourite of ours, whilst cutting winter fuel payments for pensioners. It also mentions the two-child benefit cap, which I don't really understand that. What's happened there? He's decided not to scrap it.
So the Tories during austerity wanted to reduce the benefits bill. So you're aware of child allowance. So every child in this country is entitled to child allowance that's paid to the mother. What's it, 40 quid a week, something like that? I'm guessing now, I don't know what it is anymore. The Tories per child. Yeah. The Tories decided to cap it at 2 children. So once you have 3 or 4 children, you don't get it for them. It's been very unpopular for obviously people with bigger families, tend to be migrants with bigger families. And if you have more children and you're on benefits, you're poorer now because you don't get that extra money. So the Labour Party and many socialists have always hated this. Keir Starmer and his party have been saying for at least a decade, when we're in power, we're reversing that on day one. He's now not reversing it. So he's upset a lot of his followers, a lot of his ministers, a lot of people not happy, considering he's been saying it for a decade. We're reversing this.
And reversing that would cost $3 billion, which in the great scheme of things is not that much, is it?
No.
But for some reason he's reneged on that one, basically. He also, as you say, he had to get rid of Louise Haigh because she tried to boycott P&O, who were about to invest £1 billion in a new ferry terminal or something like that, basically.
She was a little bit unfair on her, as in what she said is exactly what everybody else of those Labour ministers have said, including Keir Starmer, except they all said it a couple of years ago. But she said it again as Trade Minister just when they're about to invest £1 billion. And I think P&O's pulled the money for now. I think they'll still invest.
I think I've heard they may be coming back to invest.
You know yourself. It's taken them years to raise £1 billion. They've spent hundreds of millions on working out what to do with it, putting contract. So they're going to spend it, but I think they wanted to send a shot across Labour's bow, going, we're not putting up with your anti-business rhetoric. You insult us. We tell the press we're pulling £1 billion. You go into freefall. You flap everywhere, you start apologising, and then we come back. And this is what we're going to do when you do it again. So I think they've taught him a lesson. This isn't student union politics anymore now, where you can say what you want to say and take the virtue signalling and go, yeah, I'm amazing, fighting the man. Well, you can fight the man, but you'll lose, we tell the press you're losing £1 billion worth of investment, and then you take the collateral damage then.
What's he done on immigration and justice in the last 100 days that's made everybody so happy?
Well, he's smashed the gangs, which is great. He's done absolutely nothing. What's he done? Well, on immigration, he's done nothing.
Yeah. I mean, small boat crossings. He saw more small boat crossings in his first 83 days than any other Prime Minister over the same time period, apparently. That's two of his first acts in number 10 were to cancel the Rwanda plan and to ditch the use of the Bibi Stockholm migrant barge. So that's what he did. However, you probably didn't know this, there's better news on legal migration. The number of visas issued to students and workers has tumbled by 35% in the year to August.
That was already coming down.
Is that the Tory?
Under Tories. Tories started that about 18 months ago. They started putting heavy restrictions on tourist visas, student visas, who you can bring over. He's looking at reversing a lot of that. No, he's not done it yet, but he's looking at reversing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
What's he done on justice in terms of people he's jailed, people he's freed?
Well, he's now rehabilitated more people than the Tories. And well, it's obvious he has, because he's letting more out of jail. And you'd only let them out of jail if they were rehabilitated, so he's doing well on that. He's finding new criminals we never knew existed, so that's fantastic. We're finding lots of old white men, and he's got a new policy now for old white men we lock up to cost us very little, because he gets them to kill themselves. So that saves us a lot of money in our criminal justice system. So he's doing okay.
We've covered that many times. In terms of policies, in his first King's speech, a whole load of new bills, basically. Now, do you have some examples of these things he's either done or he's actually planning to do to us? So, especially those of us who go to pubs and things like that. But actually, on that, there's a whole load of stuff he's looking at doing, which I think is quite scary.
Right, I don't know all of them. I've not looked, but I can name some of them, such as clamping down on alcohol, on pubs, a new anti-free speech bill about pubs will have to police speech in their own premises, otherwise your barmaid can sue you if she hears something she doesn't like. Assisted dying is going through the Commons at the moment. In Canada now, 1 in 20 deaths in Canada is assisted suicide.
That's true. Yeah, that's
horrendous.
Horrific. I know.
That's horrendous.
Do people know this?
No. We've spent hundreds of years trying to protect people's lives and make them live longer, and we've got to the apex of that. Now we're saying just kill yourself and the government will help you.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they're extending that in Canada to include next year just mental health.
Depression.
Yeah, if you're depressed, you can kill yourself, basically. So even if there's nothing physically wrong with you and you're a little bit depressed, I know sometimes you get depressed, Nick. So it kind of,
only when me and you together.
So, if you get depressed and want to kill yourself, I'm happy to help. So
you'll help fund the Canadian airline ticket, will you?
It'll be legal in a year here. Yeah, no, that's a big one, I think. Again, one of many things he's sweeping through, including looking to renationalise the rail system, which I think has kind of gone under the radar. He's changed workers' rights. He's starting to change workers' rights. That's going to be a big one. Which is a massive one.
Yeah. So at the moment, workers' rights don't really kick in for the first couple of years. Well, you get rights straight away. You can't be abused, you can't be sacked for racial discrimination. There's lots of things that come in straight away, but there's things that he wants to bring in that you normally wouldn't get for 2 years. And he's going to mandate sick pay from day one, no matter how many days you've got off. So just one day, you then got to fund that sick pay as a business. 20 years ago, the government paid sick pay. A business would pay you, and then you'd claim the money back off the government. That stops 10, 15 years ago, whatever. So now it's all down to business. So all this is all extra bureaucracy, it's extra money. So not only will the companies and businesses have to fund this, a lot of them, the small ones, are going to have to start paying services to come in to run these things, because if you're a bricklayer and employ 4 people, what do you know about HR and this and that? So you're going to have to get an outside company that'll be online or something, but that's going to cost you a couple of £1 a month. It's all extra costs for businesses. And if he increases national insurance, employers' national insurance, so not the national insurance a worker pays that you see on your pay slip, but this is an extra tax that the employer has to pay on your behalf. It's a tax on jobs. So and it's about 13%.
Yes.
So as a company, every time you employ a new person, you've got to find an extra 13% of their wage to pay the government. That's before you've employed them, and that's every month. They're looking at increasing that.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, you know that I'm involved in quite a lot of businesses, and the reality of that, Nick, is when we find out there's going to be an increase in minimum wage or national insurance, we don't say, all right, we're going to have to pay this now. What we actually do is look at the overall payroll, and we say, right, how do we now keep that payroll at the level it was before, or a similar level, basically?
So that means getting rid of people.
And that means getting rid of people. And that's a reality of increasing minimum wage and all these things. We actually look to reduce the number of people we have, because we have to try and maintain our profitability. And you can't maintain your profitability if you're having to pay, your payroll increases by 13%, but your sales and your profit as a result, you've got to do something. You have to take action. It's, in my view, it is an anti-commercial action when this takes place, because I know the way we react to it in our businesses, basically. And it's not to think, oh, how do we make sure we can make sure everybody gets this, and we keep everybody employed. We don't. Commercial businesses don't think that way.
Again, this is when you're looking at student politics.
Yes.
It sounds easy.
Yeah.
I'm going to put 5% on businesses on their national insurance, and so that's going to raise 29 billion, whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't realise, well, no, because they'll employ less people. They'll start hiring services in India to provide a lot of their work for them, because it's cheaper than having it here. And the people who are made redundant then start signing on. So that's a cost on you. Next thing you know, oh, do you know what? Not only did we raise only half the money we thought we'd raise, but our state benefits have gone up exactly the same. So we've not raised any money. And again, these people don't understand that every action has a consequence.
That's the point. Yeah.
That you press on a lilo here on the pool, it pops up somewhere else. Same with the VAT on private schools. So VAT on private schools, we're going to put 20% on private schools. That will teach the rich, and they'll pay their way. Well, yeah, it sounds like that, but now thousands of people now are not sending their kids to private schools because they can't afford it. So that cost now goes on to the local schools.
Correct.
And the schools, private schools now have just realised they can start claiming back their VAT for the last 10 years because they're VAT registered now.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's like, you know, we're earning hardly anything out of this.
Yeah.
And
some of the private schools, because of course, if you tax the rich, put more tax on the rich, what you're not anticipating is the fact the reason they are rich is because they're intelligent. These are intelligent people. So if you put more tax on rich people, they are not just going to sit there and say, all right, I'll pay more tax. They will use their brains and their resources and their advisors to work out a way to get around it. It's just it's basically, it's Darwin, isn't it? It's evolution. They're rich for a reason, these people, and they will react. And apparently a lot of the private schools now have got a massive windfall on VAT. They've got, like, one school was claiming like 45 million something on VAT. So it's kind of that you're right. It is sixth form politics. They don't understand the complexity of the things they're doing, the actions they're taking.
And we see this all the time in the real world. Guy from trigonometry, Kisting. Him.
Yeah.
Gave a good example the other day where in India, the British in India wanted to reduce the amount of snake bites, so put a bounty on the heads of king cobra snakes. So every time you killed a king cobra, brought it to local government, they would give you so many rupees. So what happened? People started breeding king cobras and taking them to government and claiming the money on them. It was a whole industry. And when the government clocked on what was happening, they cancelled it. So what did all these cobra farms do with all the cobras? Let them go. Big spike, cobra bites and cobra attacks. So you need to understand, when it's like playing chess, you need to understand so many moves ahead of what's going to happen when you move your piece. How are people going to react? What are they going to do to mitigate?
Correct.
And they don't do
Don't assume there's no reaction to it.
There's always will be, and if you can't figure out what the reaction is, it just means you're not clever enough.
Another example of that, I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of Chesterton's fence?
Yes, and that goes along the lines of, if you come across a fence, don't tear it down until you realise why that fence was put up.
Yeah. If you on a field, or you bought a farm or whatever, and you come into a field and you see a fence there, and you don't know why it's there, don't tear it down, because you don't know.
There was a reason why someone put that there.
Exactly. Yeah. I see that in business a lot, especially when we take over a new business and somebody's like, and they're like, oh, we do this, and I'm like, well, why do you do that? And they go, oh, I don't know. And I'll say, well, don't change it at the moment. Let's do some more. Let's because from experience, I've changed things, and then a month later, this is why has happened, because somebody changed. I was like, oh God, that was me. So Chesterton. That's an example. Chesterton fence. They come in very simplistic ideas to change things. And like the VAT, I know we'll change the VAT. Oh, hang on a minute. They're all, it's just, it is hilarious, but it shows, you're right, they're career politicians. They've never lived in the real world or understood how things operate in the real world. And there's some very clever people out there, not politicians, who can react to these sort of silly government people. You're right. I think that just some of these policies we've talked about, the planning system, workers' rights as well, but they're also talking about things like a ban on smoking in pubs and outdoor spaces. They're also talking about reducing the size of glasses. Again, childish attempts to make people healthier, basically. There's even talk at the moment, I don't know if you've heard about it, there's even talk about the moment of supplying millions of smartwatches to people. Have you heard this?
Yes, yeah.
So this is the latest thing, to give obese people smartwatches or something. Like somehow that will make them automatic.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is it smartwatches?
Yeah. It's to show how active they are and this and that and all that sort of stuff. It's what, you know what? Fat people know they're fat. Inactive people know they're inactive. We keep wanting sometimes a simple answer, especially technology, to fix complicated human problems, and these watches won't work. We've done all this.
Do know.
Yeah, I mean, we've done this before. If you're obese on the NHS, your doctor can give you free gym memberships to a local gym, not a council gym,
really?
But a top range. If it's near you, your NHS centre will pay for you to go there.
Yeah.
But our obesity is still getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Because we don't expect these people to take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Doctors now are not allowed to say. Some doctors now are not allowed to tell people they're fat, and they're not allowed to use the word morbidly obese. Not allowed to use those phrases anymore because it's derogatory.
Well, it's this constant infantilizing of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
And something we're going to talk about later, which is agency. The idea, this government seems to have the idea that nobody has their own agency, that they can do things for themselves, they can think for themselves, they can decide not to smoke for themselves, or they can be careful.
That's socialist for you, because they want to run your life for you. It has to be the state.
Yeah.
The state has to be in control of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm the complete opposite of that.
But it's insulting, isn't it? It's actually insulting to people, isn't it? It's kind of, and I think another real example of that, we're kind of straying off the subject here, but was COVID. The idea that, you as a person, if you had COVID and you were walking towards me snuffling and stuff, that I would just stand there and not move, basically. So it's kind of keep 2 meters apart, wear a mask, do all that sort of stuff. But if you're walking towards me on the street At any time, not just during COVID time, at any time, if there's snot pouring down your nose, if you're sneezing loudly or whatever, it happens now. Where was it the other day? I was in a cafe somewhere, and a woman was sneezing and I looked at her and I was like, and she went like that and put her hand up to, I didn't just sit there and let her sneeze all over me. I reacted. She saw me reacting, and then she put her hand over her face and moved away, basically. And then she actually, it was in the airport. And then it was in a restaurant in the airport. And then she actually, because I was like this, she then went off to the bathroom and obviously did a sneezing or whatever. But the idea that people don't react, and COVID is an example of that. It's like people are too stupid to actually take their own protective measures to not getting COVID, so we'll impose them on the people. And it is socialism, and that was the Tory government. Well, it was every government in the country, wasn't it, basically?
Until you're in a position that we don't want you, and then we'll help you kill yourself.
Yes, yeah. Apparently Sir Keir is struggling to actually get his policy offerings discussed because immigration and the economy has been mentioned less in the first 100 days than they have been under the other three previous Tory Prime Ministers. And Just Trust spoke about the NHS less. In contrast, the winter fuel allowance and Israel have been mentioned vastly more. He can't even keep it under control, but even though he's got that massive majority, he can't even keep the discussion under control in Parliament. I mean, he's lost control.
No, he's completely lost control. That you just have to look at what the press are writing about him. He's lost complete control of the narrative.
Yeah, even in Parliament, which is shocking considering he's got such a... Do you want to tell me something about what he's achieved in the last 100 days in foreign affairs, Nick?
Well, he shrunk the size of Britain. So he's given away the Chagos Islands. He's upset the people on Gibraltar and the Falklands.
Correct.
He's upset Trump by appointing Lammy as the foreign minister. He's probably upset loads of people.
And he's having a lot of issues with Gaza and Lebanon and Israel, obviously, because within his own party, when he supports Israel, they don't like it. When he goes the other way around. So he's flip-flopping all the time around Israel. He wants to, with Kiev, he wants to let Kiev use Storm Shadow missiles to strike targets in Russia, but the White House isn't supporting it. So he's all over. And worse than that, he's got Lammy as his foreign secretary, who's an imbecile. We've discussed many times before. So even foreign affairs. I mean, it's interesting this as we've gone through each section, because in every area, critical area in government, he's just been shocking, hasn't he? If there isn't one area you could say, oh yes, he's had a success in that area. He's just been dreadful in every single area, basically.
And part of that is because when he became Prime Minister, we then still didn't know what he was about. He should have had a narrative. He should have had a narrative for the last couple of years that we knew what he was going to do. But because no one knew what he was going to do and he didn't know what he was going to do, events have taken over. So the press will always print stories. It's down to you as Prime Minister and your team to ensure you give them the stories that you'd like them to print. But when you don't give them the stories, they will find stories, and then all this stuff came out with sleaze and everything, and he's been on the back foot ever since.
Yeah. I want to move, so that summarises 100 days basically, but I think what's interesting is every area he's just been he has just been dreadful and continues to be dreadful. The only thing he seems to have survived, which was one of your best looked videos, is this scandal, which seems to have disappeared now. Because I think the last time we spoke, you thought some papers were holding it to release it, but nothing's happened, has it?
Nothing's happened, but I think that will still come out. I just think they're still trying to get the story over the line.
Right. I hope it does, because if it's what we believe it to be, it'll be really interesting.
And if they can't get it over the line, they will leak it onto the internet. And then we'll all find out anyway.
Just another of your very popular videos, Soylent Green, which is a film you've never heard of. Just an update on that. And when I talk about Soylent Green now, I'm talking about about Labour's hatred of old people, basically. They basically want them gone, as far as we can see. So Starmer is now pressuring Labour. We've briefly touched on this, but a little bit more on it. Starmer is now pressuring Labour MPs on assisted dying. So Kim Ledbetter, one of the MPs, has got this kind of wildcard bill going on. But I think what a lot of people don't know is that it's a pet project of Lord Ali's. Did you know that?
No.
So there was a vote on this, or there was a bill on this about 5 or 10 years ago, and Lord Falconer, who's a nutter, who's basically pro this, he used to call him Fatty Falconer, he's lost weight actually, but he and Lord Ali were kind of key proponents of this assisted dying bill. So we now found out it happens to be the pet project of one of his little funders, or his favourite funder basically, which I think a lot of people don't know. So suddenly, miraculously, this bill's come through from Kim Ledbetter. Lord Ali, we find out he wants assisted dying to take place in the UK, and Starmer's pushing his MPs on it all the way through. It stinks again. What also stinks about this is there's a lady called Esther Ranson involved in this. Now, Esther Ranson is a very toothy, irritating lady who used to do a program called That's Life when we were younger. She's not particularly engaging or interesting. Sometimes she has moments of popularity. But somehow she has the direct ear of the Prime Minister on this. Because she's got some sort of cancer or what. I mean, she's old, so she's dying anyway. But she's got the ear of the Prime Minister, and somehow she is pushing this assistant. How do these people get into positions where they are not elected by anybody, but they are influencing policy in this manner?
I think they're using her just as much as she's using them. I don't think someone like her could influence policy, and I think they want to do this anyway because it really is a socialist agenda to let old people die and people can kill themselves. But because, especially for people our age, she was the face of common sense. All the campaigning she did on all sorts of things through that programme.
She did set up Childline, didn't she?
Set up Childline.
That didn't do so well.
Yeah. Well, not only that, also knew about Jimmy Savile and didn't say anything until he died.
Yes, I've heard that.
She admitted that on TV. That was disgraceful, hence why she probably set up Childline. But you're right. Who cares what Esther Ranson thinks?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, apparently we have to.
Yes.
She's going to do it. So, David Frost wrote a very interesting article in the Telegraph, and you mentioned some of the stats in there. 1 in 20 deaths in Canada is now euthanasia, which is shocking. From 2027, it'll be available for mental illness only. And David Frost talks about morality, which is quite interesting, Judeo-Christian morality, and how we've lost that morality, and as a result, things like this are now starting to be accepted. And I think it was a really interesting article, and you and I have talked about, I've told you before, I believe myself to be a Christian, even though I don't particularly believe in God. And I went to church for a while, as you know, just to try and understand, re-embrace that part of my childhood. But what he's saying is, because we have abandoned Christianity, Judeo-Christianity beliefs or whatever, these things are now sneaking in. And he also cites abortion as an example of that, saying that in last year, 2022, there were 250,000 abortions in this country. 250,000? Yeah, 250,000. Now, what's interesting about that is one of the arguments for immigration is we haven't got enough young people in this country to do the jobs, but this kind of is an opposite argument to that, isn't it? To say if we hadn't made the decision to allow abortion to be so readily available in this country, we might have more people available to do jobs in this country and do some of the things that the immigrants are doing.
That's one argument, but we don't need that argument because we've got 10 million people unemployed.
Yes.
So
correct.
there's your workforce.
Yes.
We've created a society where some of us don't want to bring children into the world, and it's like, well, that's an indictment on the country that we've got a country now that we don't want to bring our children into this world, or if we have one or two, that's all we're going to do. Mainly one now, and that's because our society's not been designed for the last few decades to facilitate the family. Family's never mentioned, family's not protected. Anyone can have a family, anyone can be a parent, and when I say anybody, I mean you don't have to be opposite sex, you don't have to be heterosexual, you can be, we've allowed people to take the word family like they do with many words, and have it mean whatever they want it to mean. We don't give families breaks anymore now. We don't create an environment where families flourish. We tell especially women that having children is not the most important thing for you, it's having a career. Everything is anti-family all the time, and the peak of that is we allow mothers to murder their children in the womb. If that isn't a stain on our society, I don't know what is.
Well, as you know, I don't necessarily agree with your views on it. So it's not that I don't agree with your views on abortion. I haven't formulated in my own head yet what I really, because I think I've said to you before, I've always been, since a kid, I've been told that pro-choice is the way to be, but I've kind of accepted it. I've never questioned or challenged it. We said at some point we were going to have a debate and a discussion about it. But I think your point about family is very interesting. Now, Lord Frost mentions, we are now a state unmoored from the morality of the Judeo-Christian. So the state has pulled away from the Judeo-Christian morals. But in the same way, if we carry on with that metaphor or that simile, the family has become unmoored, hasn't it? The parts of the family have drifted apart in the sea, basically. And that's children, abortion, all that, family, father, but also grandparents, the elderly as well. We come full circle to what we've just been talking about. The idea of protecting members of the family, whether it's children or grandparents, also has disappeared, hasn't it, as a concept? And this is where euthanasia and assisted dying starts to come. Because the idea of killing your granny 20 years ago would not have even been countenanced, would it, really? But now we're talking about it openly. There's a bill in Parliament. And when you read the papers, nobody's outraged about it, are they?
There's not, because there's no role for grandparents in society anymore. There's a reason why we live so long. Most animals, including lots of mammals, lower class mammals, their lives end when their reproductive cycle ends. So when they can't have any more offspring, it's usually the end of their life and they die. Intelligent mammals like us, we live a lot longer. We live beyond our reproduction benefits. And the question is why? And the reason is because we're there to help raise the next generation, grandchildren. We're supposed to be a font of knowledge. We're supposed to be there supporting parents when they go out hunting. Now it's going out to work. Raising children is very difficult. It can be time consuming. It's also very stressful. There's times where parents just want to go, Mum, look after my child for a few hours. I've had enough. That's how we reduce the amount of child abuse, is because parents are so frustrated. They lash out, where what they should be doing is handing them over to grandparents. And grandparents now have no role in society. Hence why dementia's kicking in, because they're not active. Grandparents need to be working until they die. Once you're of that age, your job is childminder, looking after your grandchildren, playing with them, educating them, cooking with them, telling about the old days so they can relate to what things were like. But all those roles have gone. So now we give our children, if we have children, we give them to strangers to look after that we pay. We put our old people in old folks' homes. We let migrants wipe their asses, and we wait for them to die. And do you know what? Some of us can't wait much longer now. So now we're getting a way of killing them legally.
So you see this as a natural evolution of the way we... Which is a real sad testament to what's happening.
Old people have become a waste of space. We don't need them. They just use our resources. They take our state benefits. They use the NHS. We're paying them pensions. They provide nothing for anybody anymore. That's where we are now. The truth is, we should be using them a lot more, because we're a font of knowledge. And a grandparent will look after your child better and educate it better than any stranger you can pay for, because they've got their genes invested in that child. That's their legacy. That's their opportunity for to live for eternity, to never die, because you pass your genes on.
Correct.
That's built in our DNA to want that. Hence why family members will look after each other better than strangers will. I'm
close to tears here, Nick. But mainly because I'm getting old.
Yeah. Start treating your kids better.
They definitely will look after me. A couple more things now, just on the soil and green side of it. One is that something we talked about in that soil and green thing is that apparently they have now started talking about free prescriptions for over 60s to be taken off. I don't know if you've heard that.
I've heard that, but that doesn't surprise me. That'll save them a fortune. Same with the no more free travel. You know, all these things. I'm not saying if these benefits are good or bad things. I'm just saying that we have them. But it just seems this government is going out of its way to take away everything to do with old people. And that's because in a socialist state, the second you're not productive for the state, there's no value anymore now.
This one really shocked me, because this will affect me in the near future. Motorists of 70, so when you hit 70, will have to retake your test to drive C1 vehicles.
Yeah. Do
you know what C1 vehicles are?
It's like motorhomes and things like that.
Correct. Now that is scandalous, don't you think? So you hit 70, I'm going to retire now, I'm going to get myself a motorhome, drive around, you know, because you see them on the motorways all the time, you know, clogging up the outside, clogging up the middle lane. You have to force them over. And they're always on a country lane when you're trying to get somewhere as well. So I suppose there's some advantage to not doing it. But you're a 70-year-old man or woman.
Yeah.
You get looking forward to, right, love, we're retired now. We were going to retire at 65, but then and now he's 70, but we're retired now. Let's buy that motorhome. And we can travel around the country because it's cheaper than staying in a hotel because we don't have much money because the state pension has been messed up anyway, hasn't it? So it's not, you know, that's all been messed up. We don't have much money and the tax is at an all-time high. So we can drive around the country and sleep in the motorhome. You go to get the motorhome, sorry sir, you can't drive that because you're over 70. That's what they've done. At which point the 70-year-old blokes go, that's it, I'm just going to kill myself.
Yeah.
But surely driving a motorhome when you're 70 is the point of motorhomes.
Yeah.
How many, why are they doing it? Because how many people per year are killed by a 70-year-old driving a motorhome?
That's what I'd like to see. I would like to see the evidence and the rationale for this policy. I want to see the evidence, because if there's no evidence, then yeah. If the evidence says that they're a hazard, and so many, you know, there's 200 accidents, 2,000 accidents a year involving motorhomes, and 198 of them involved old people over 70, then, well, there's a case to be made there, maybe. But I'd like to see the evidence.
Yeah, but I can genuinely say in the last year I've not seen an article saying a 70-year-old bloke in a motorhome has killed a small child.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's almost like they're doing this to torment old people. You know, it's like you can almost imagine a 72-year-old bloke who's been driving his motorhome for 5 years. Yeah. Oh, I'm just going to kill myself, Joyce. You know, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's it. What?
It also shines a light on what the government think of old people.
Yes, again, it's that idea of agency and the ability to think, you know. Because you're 70 years old, you won't slam the brake on when a small child in a tricycle comes in front of you. You might be a millisecond slower than somebody else, but you're going to slam the brake on, aren't you? 70-year-olds are fine driving. Lots of 70-year-olds drive cars.
I'd like to see the evidence behind that, the rationale behind that.
I think it's one of these discussion things at the moment, but that's it.
Yeah.
So this is what they're all sitting around, isn't it, in the cabinet? You know, they get driven across London in their luxurious Range Rovers, somebody avoiding the potholes for them, reading the papers. They come and sit down and say, I know, I saw a motorhome today and the bloke was driving at 40 miles an hour. Let's stop 70-year-olds driving motorhomes.
Do you know what? I think you're spot on. I think there'll be a case somewhere in the country where a child's been killed by a 70-year-old driving a motorhome who had enough time to stop but got confused and and the child's parents now has got an online campaign, and one of the ministers has seen it and went, I can't fix any of our problems in this country. I think I'm out to do that.
Yeah.
That looks like I'm doing something. Those mums will say, oh, you're saving children's lives. I'll get some press out of that.
Yeah.
So our politicians do not solve our serious problems.
Yes.
They tinker around the edges with minor crap that isn't that important, because at least they think they've got a good chance of solving that.
Yeah.
Most of them don't. They still mess it up.
But also, it's shit easy to do, excuse my French, isn't it? It's really easy to do that, isn't it? Stick it to a 70-year-old in his driving licence, because that won't... We'll have no opposition to it. It's easy to do. We're in control of driving licence, by the way. So we'll do this. So it's bloody easy to do. So we'll stick it to a 70-year-old. Yeah,
and when people complain, we say, we're saving toddlers' lives.
Yes. Here's a picture.
Don't you like toddlers?
Yeah. Exactly. What, do you want small children to die? Yeah. It's like... It is just... When I read that, I thought, there's no logic to this at all. It doesn't make any sense at all, that.
What that bill should be about is we're going to give grandparents legal rights to see their grandchildren. That's what I'd like to see in the bill.
Yes, that's more like it. Yeah.
Yes.
But that's too hard.
Of course it is.
That's far too hard. So all this money that we're spending, I'm just conscious of the time, and I think I've got to finish now. But I'd like to finish on this because it's something that you and I have talked about before, and the reason I'm raising this is because the person who wrote this article, they were out on the street and they saw a woman picking up litter.
Yeah, good for her. It might be me in a dress.
For our gentle viewers, Nick, when he eventually becomes the all-powerful dictator in this country, is going to force you guys to go out and pick litter up off the street, basically. Anyway.
No, I need to correct that. What I said was we all need to take personal responsibility for our lives, our families and our neighbourhoods. And if your street's a mess full of litter, rather than complaining to the council who won't come and clean it anyway, get a brush, clean it yourself. Take that responsibility.
I think you actually said you were going to make people do it, but anyway.
I would never make anyone do anything like that.
Anyway, this woman actually had the right view.
Yeah.
So she went to see this woman here, and the woman said, I'm doing this because the council aren't picking up litter, basically. And so they then started to talk about a tax strike, which apparently people started to do now. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I've heard the term tax strike.
So a tax strike is basically, I'm paying my money to the council to keep, they're not doing it, so I'm not going to pay my council tax anymore, and you can take me to court. Yeah. I mean, I think you and I are ostensibly, or I'm doing this anyway, so about my TV licence. I'm not going to pay for that shit. No. You know, so they can take me to jail if they want.
But you don't watch TV?
I don't watch TV anyway. I don't watch BBC anyway.
Yeah, so
the only time I saw it, as I said, was when I was at hospital. Yeah. So if anybody's, if a BBC...
And that's down to the hospital to pay for TV licence.
Correct. I was hoping they were paying for that TV licence that I was watching. Yeah. So if there's any of these guys going in the vans with the thing that spins round on top, the TV licence detector...
But you know that's a con.
Yes, I do know it's a con, yeah. And I'm dying for a TV licensed person to turn up at my front door. So I said, let's go on a tax strike. We need to go on a tax strike, basically. So this person who was chatting to this, you know, obviously, so this person said, unlike you saying, just get on with it, he said, no, I'm going to do a tax strike. Started reflecting on all the taxes we have to pay in this country. And quite interestingly, they wrote a list of taxes we're currently having to pay in this country. And guess how many taxes are on this list?
Oh, Nick? There's hundreds of taxes in this country, hundreds of them.
Yeah. I'll just go through the list, if you don't mind, very quickly, because I actually hadn't thought about it before, but there are massive numbers. Income tax, national insurance, council tax, value-added tax, road tax, fuel tax, excise tax, which is again on excise goods, customs tax, environmental taxes, insurance premium tax, we have to pay insurance premium tax now, stamp duty taxes, capital gains tax, pension lump sum tax, you get tax on your pension lump sums now, inheritance tax, but there's a whole raft of new ones now, ULEZ, and by the way, Angela Rayner has said that's now coming to a town near you, did you know that?
She said that a couple of years ago,
Yeah, well, she said it again. Yeah. Clean air zone tax and paid per mile tax is coming now as well. all these taxes now, and these are not unusual, obscure taxes,
Yeah.
Nick. These are taxes that are hitting you and I on a daily basis, basically.
Yeah.
Tax currently is now its highest since, guess when?
Second World War.
Correct. 1949, tax was 36.5% of national income. And it's now higher than that, or as high as that now. And that was tax for a country trying to rebuild itself from the ashes.
Yeah.
Our tax now, so 40% tax now is not the province of the wealthy, Nick. It's the province of you and me and everybody else, basically. Everybody's now getting taxed at a minimum of 40%, basically. It's scandalous. In 2019, it was only 33%. So in the last 5 years, it's gone up nearly 4 or 5%, basically, of your income.
Yeah. Let me tell you about income tax.
Go on then.
Income tax was created to fund the Napoleonic War as a temporary tax. 200 years later, we're still paying income tax.
We've talked about how money is spent, and there's I've written as much as I could this week. There's loads of stuff I've not even covered, and there's a whole lot of stuff. But one of the interesting things was who used to be the leader of the SDP, who was a Christian. Remember, he got kicked out because he was
Tim Farron.
Tim Farron. So he was talking about money spent on farmers in this country. So we give this every year to farmers, $1.5 billion. We spend $7.5 billion on immigration.
Yep.
So we pay 5 times more for asylum seekers and dealing with immigration than we do to our own farmers to subsidise their crops.
Yep.
Isn't that a scandal?
It's all a scandal.
Yeah.
There's an agency, there's a group of people called, it's on Twitter, it's called Woke Waste. Trigonometry interviewed a woman who runs it the other day. I watched it, and the thing she's discovered what we're spending money on.
Really?
It sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
And it's not all been, a lot of it's not even spent in this country.
Yeah.
We've just funded some guy to research bedwetting in Victorian times, a couple of £1,000. We've just funded some other guy who's not British, who lives in Scandinavia. We've funded him a couple of £1,000 to study the history of male porn. Another one we funded about male sexuality and pigs. And that one's about, and you won't believe what we're funding.
It is. I'd like to at some point do a fuller article on what we're spending our money on and what we should be spending our money on. I am gradually, I think, Nick, getting to the point where I just want to see somebody come in who's going to stop all this crap that we're having to deal with.
That's what we need.
It gets me more and more enraged every week.
I'd like to see someone come in with a new form of austerity, which isn't, we're going to reduce all these budgets. I want someone to come in and go, we're not touching education, we're not touching the NHS, but all this crap goes from that to zero because it all stops today.
Yeah.
That's the sort of austerity I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And I'd like councils being told, well, here's your money, we're not going to tell you what to spend it on because that's down to your electorate. But if you spend it on these things we disagree with, and we're going to knock that money off next year's budget. Yeah. So if you spend £500,000 on gay and lesbian saunas, well, that's fine, spend it on that. But next year we knock off £500,000 from your grant. And let's try to get people spending money the way you should be spending money.
I think doing that would be a lot easier than people think it would be.
Yes.
I think that's what you're talking about there is a different manifesto from somebody. Speaking of which, Tommy Robinson's back in the country.
Yep.
Just to end on this, Tommy Robinson's back in the country. He's got a new book out called Manifesto.
Yep.
And I understand next week, is it next week or this weekend?
I think it's this weekend.
This weekend he's leading a march
in London.
In London, which I haven't looked at yet, but I might try and go on, basically.
His book's selling more than mine.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I went to buy his book.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It got off Amazon. It disappeared off Amazon.
It was number 1 on Amazon,
Yeah.
and then they must have got loads of complaints, and now you can't find it.
That is scandalous, isn't it?
It is.
Again, another example of our free speech being
Yeah.
ridden over. Nick Buckley, MBE, thank you very much. Episode 40, I won't say which episode.
49.
It could be 49/50. Very nice to see you. If you've liked what you watched, viewers, please thumbs up, subscribe,
comment.
Comment.
We're getting loads of comments now.
Yes, I
More-
like the
more
comments.
than ever,
They're
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I think we should have a section to discuss the comments, because some of them are really interesting. Very nice to see you, and congratulations. I'm not sure what for, but congratulations on the new layout
with lights that have run out.
Lights that have run out.
It'll get better over time.
We'll try and do better next week, folks. Bye bye. See you.
Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.